Okay, this mode of operation, I'm going to show you how the HW switch works. This is a switch that's used to put holding torque onto the motor. And typically when you want the motor not to move, you want to have holding torque on the motor so it doesn't move because the load is causing it to move. Typically holding torque can be set up at a different level depending on the kind of loading that you have. Inertial loads will require more holding torque to keep the load from moving the motor. Frictional loads will require less holding torque. But keep in mind, if it's a vertical axis, you'll want to use a regular fail-safe brake to grab the shaft rather than using the holding torque in the motor, because gravity is the culprit there. So don't use holding torque to brake the motor on vertical applications. So if we show an application here, for instance, here is a analog rotational directional speed control. If I bring this to 0 speed, the holding torque that's been programmed is kind of loose. It's not all that high, and so it's not needed possibly in the application, but it just shows you that it can be pretty soft as needed. If I go to a different mode, this is an encoder mode where I'm actually following an encoder. The holding torque has been programmed to be pretty stiff, so it's very hard to move the shaft with the holding torque that's been programmed in for that application. But again, it depends on the load on the motor that you want to determine the level of holding torque that you want. Once you run the motor and you want to stop the motor, if we run it, this is a high-speed forward and reverse timed operation that's been built into the program examples. If I stop the holding torque, I actually regenerate or dynamic brake the motor using regenerative braking, and so the motor will stop pretty abruptly and quickly. So if you just want to stop the machine without actually hitting the E-stop, you can do it that way and then start it again when you're ready to. So that's what the holding torque does. It gives you power on the motor to keep it from moving, and then the switch will allow you to regen the motor to 0 speed at a very quick dynamic brake using regenerative braking.